I glued up these 3 panels because I really liked this knot, and I filled it with epoxy to stabilize it, and then I needed the overall width. The color's a little off, but I'm hoping once I plane it down it matches a little better, and then the oil should make it match a little better. Then basically this is one board that I resawed in half, you can see right here, and then sort of use the pattern so that it frames the centerpiece, but it goes out this way and it goes out this way, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. Basically this is going to become the lid of the box, and it's way thick. I'm going to have to plane it down a lot, but the lid's going to end up being about, you know, this big, and it's going to come out, and the front's going to have a rounded part which will act like a lid catch, so you can lift up the lid. But I really like this knot, so that's why I wanted to do this. Alright, so I just have a little lunchbox planer on a little mobile cart. I just plug it in and I do it outside, that way I can just sweep the outside real quick. So let's plane this down. As you can see, my last couple of passes are always a lot less material taken off, just to get it nice and smooth. Looks like I'm going to have to re-epoxy this just to fix it up, but that's okay. This is going to get cut off anyway, so coming off the planer, it actually revealed some more gaps in this little in the knot, where I hadn't filled with epoxy because there was a small layer of wood above it. So I'm just going to refill it with epoxy. And I figured it'd be a good time to show you what I hadn't videotaped before. So, perfect. First thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to clean it off just a little bit with the with some denatured alcohol, just so that it doesn't have any wood dust or anything on the epoxy that's already here. And I like using alcohol instead of mineral spirits because, well, it dries much quicker. I don't have to wait that long. I'm going to use this, found this T88 stuff. Fortunately, it takes overnight to cure, so we'll get back to that later on. But what I like about it is that when it cures non-brittle. So some epoxies get a little brittle, so when you plane them, they tend to flake off a little bit. This one is non-brittle. Or at least it says it's non-brittle. It's more non-brittle, less brittle than others. So that's why I'm going to use it. Probably won't need that much at all, but it's kind of hard to, which is mixing my epoxy, which is kind of cool. Now this epoxy, when you mix it, turns white like that, but it actually dries clear. So, all right, let's pour it. Where do we like it here? I want some covering this part and this part. You know, and just for good measure, I'm going to fill this one in. Even though I'm pretty sure it's going to get cut off. But just in case it survives the arc. One other little tip. A heat gun will help get any of the bubbles up to the surface, and it's just a good practice to do, I guess. Oh, it's gonna fall. Okay, so I'll get into my handy little plug there. Yeah. And these things heat up pretty quickly, so that you can see it from there, but when you do this, you can start to see all these bubbles pop up and just start popping. That way you don't have any bubbles inside your epoxy. We'll let that cure overnight. Okay, so it's the next day, and that epoxy should be dry. Let's get the board out. And there it is. It's looks pretty good. Let me get a plane out and we'll plane it out and see how it ends up. Looks pretty good. So now, I'm going to plane the whole thing. That is all it takes. I just want to have one straight edge so that I can reference at the table saw. And there's nothing better than using a plane to get it straight. These planes will get this line straighter than any saw we have, any machine saw anyways. Just so there we go. That's one. That's going to be our starting reference surface. So everything will be cut off of that, basically. We'll get a square cut this way, a square cut this way. This cut will actually be round, which is going to be interesting. Okay, so just rough. I just want to roughly square it up, but so I'm just gonna trim off a piece in the front and then the sides. And I got plenty of meat to work with here. Okay, so with that first cut made, we now need to make the second cut, which will measure with the box itself, squaring it up to that cut we just made. Just line up our 3 points. And we draw our arc. Now here at the bandsaw, we just cut the curve out, and I'm going to stay away from my line and refine it by hand. Alright, I don't need the fence. Lower this. Good. Okay, so now having cut that at the bandsaw, it leaves a nice rough edge, but we're going to clean all that up anyways using a combination of planes and spoke shave and the spindle sander. No, not spindle sander, the disc sander. That is one crude machine, but it works. Got a nice round perfect shape right to my line. We're just going to clean it up with a hand plane, I guess. Let's start with a block plane and move on from there. Okay, so I'm going to put it in my vise so I can plane it, but since it's such a thin piece, it can flex. So I'm going to put a nice big thick piece of maple here just to help me with any flex. And I'm going to clamp that down, so let me go get some clamps. I'm going to start with a block plane, and hopefully I won't need to use anything else, but we'll see. Okay, so now that we're done with the lid, we're going to be moving on to the hardware and finishing. So I think I'll do both of those in one video because the hardware is real simple. It's just two hinges, and then we'll start finishing.